What's scheduled? 4:30? 4:15?
Just to follow up to that, I got an email from you, Jim, about the PA system. I don't have that. I don't have access to it because it's in our storage.
I believe Maria has the key. Maria, you have the, okay.
I'll have it back about 2 o'clock.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have the key and everything to access it.
Jim's on task.
How'd you provide that for announcing?
But that's provided by the rental company that provides all our PA systems. We don't use the same ones except for the main PA system connected to the TV broadcast. Then they sometimes use that PA system, but again, I don't have access to it unless somebody else does, and I'll help set it up, but
Yeah, Jim has access to it.
Okay.
Through Maria, so it's there, and I believe it is being loaned to the Chamber for the Parade.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I just, because I just happened to listen to the, we were talking about you're one of the announcers, right?
yes.
You maybe stop with whatever system this has, so otherwise you're talking really loud if you don't have the system.
Yeah, no, I don't have our system.
Oh.
They rent systems because there are 5 stations.
Right.
And all 5, they have 5 announcers. And so, but we're all the way from Balboa up to Zelda. So what happens is, the only ones who has our PA system is the one tied in with the broadcast, that do the filming of the parade. They have it there, and there's generally 2 people who are sitting there doing that announcement. The rest of us are just announcing for the parade audience along the way, and we just offer announcing services throughout there.
I just wanted to make sure you check with Paul so that they aren't missing the system and thinking that they don't need to direct.
No, they know who they got.
Okay.
And we had our meeting last night, and that was fine.
You absolutely can.
Okay, I have to leave to know everybody, but I wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas if I don't see you again, and Happy New Year.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yes, Happy Hanukkah too.
Thank you. So let the record reflect that Director Dr. Velasco has left, Mr. Secretary, and we still have a quorum. Okay. Great. All right, thank you, Bonnie. Brandon, is there anything from Budget Committee?
No.
Wonderful. Bylaws and rules. Eric?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we passed a motion to establish a Government Affairs Committee. And I remember there was a note here about whether this, Mike Keeble asked, who's our parliamentarian who isn't here, was asking if this was an ad hoc. Government Affairs Committee should have been the first committee. In fact, now it's going to be the last, but the basis of the neighborhood council was that we would have input to the city council. And the only way we have input to the city council, direct input, is through the council files. And that's what the Government Affairs Committee would do. It would directly oversee all of our council files. They would track the council files, and all this could be done by computer. And it would be made up of up to 5 board and stakeholders. It doesn't have to be just one, but only board members would be able to get the passcodes and ID numbers to input to the council files downtown. So remember, this was our main reason for existing. If we don't have input to the city council, we're not really doing anything. We weren't organized just to fund various community organizations. we wanted to have direct input to what was going on in the city, so we could have our say over our communities, because you don't. Because if you try to go downtown, you might get 1 minute after standing there for 2 hours to speak. With the council files, and they've changed the council files how we used to input it. Before, we could only go yay or nay on a situation. Now, we can put in our own ideas. So those council files are not restricted, and I have asked Brad to invite Linda Galvani, who is the president of the Balboa, I believe she's president of Balboa Neighborhood Council, who, from what I understand, has been going from neighborhood council to neighborhood council and giving a PowerPoint presentation, and everybody says it's fantastic. And it is not just for the board members, it's also for stakeholders, because stakeholders should be able to access those files and look and see what's going on and how it might affect our community as well as the whole city. Because what happens in one part of the city can affect our little part of the city as well. So, so stakeholders can be on this committee as well as board members, but only board members would be able to access the council files and put in if there's what. And by the way, when they do input, it must come along with the minutes that those council files were voted on by the board with a vote count.
Mayor, I have a question, just
Yeah.
for clarification, because I believe to create a new committee, standing committee, whatever, would actually take a bylaws modification, but if
Yes.
we have the ability to create ad hoc committees with, in any given lifetime or even an indefinite lifetime. So
It should be a permanent committee. It should not be an ad hoc committee. It should be a standing committee, because it is why the neighborhood council was created in the first place. So why would you create a ad hoc committee for something? Yeah.
These days, there's so many special interests and corporations that do nothing but lobbying and have whole panels of personnel that do nothing other than what you're talking about, which is going through city legislation and checking to see what is going to be in their best interest. And what there's a need for now is citizen lobbying. And that's what it is that you're talking about, is us as citizens
Yes.
paying very close attention to what is going on in legislation so as not to be negatively impacted.
Yes, exactly. And that's what this here summary page for, that I hand out to everyone. And if you read it, it pretty much explains what I just talked about as far as the makeup of the group. You can see that on the second page, next to the last paragraph. It talks about, and this is from the city. So, what we're doing is we're just playing catch up with what should have been done years ago. And as you see, they were talking about February 12th, 2003. Here it is, 2014. So this is something that is very important, that the neighborhood council, we have been participating in, we have submitted council files, but we don't track them. And that's what our government affairs committee would do. It would track the council files to see where it is right now and if it's been changed. Because quite often, when it gets to the city council, they'll go into committee and they'll come out refashion this council file. And what we voted on one year may not be our position later on. We may have caveats to it that we want to add, and this will give us that opportunity to say, if this happens, then we want this and this to happen, instead of just yes or no like we had before. So again, this is why we need to form our own government affairs committee and staff. Yes, Ron?
I certainly appreciate what Jerry says too, though. I think that because it takes, you have to get 2/3 to pass for the bylaw change, and then it has to go through the city attorney and all that stuff. But I think it's a really good idea to do it as an ad hoc committee with the proviso that, so we can start it immediately with the proviso that we can also do a bylaw amendment later, which would
We could do
make it a permanent
this,
committee on the
it
bylaw.
really wouldn't take that long. I mean,
Let's get approval by.
Let me add some color to this, because ad hoc doesn't mean temporary. Ad hoc just means that we can, at our will, we can, and Jeff, you can correct me on this if I'm misinterpreting it, but we can form the committees at will and dissolve them at will, as opposed to having them burned into the bylaws. And I believe the only committee that we have burned it, we have the only committee that's burned into the bylaws really is outreach,
I think so.
right?
Yeah.
no, we have several committees that are burned in our bylaws. The outreach, of course, that was number one. We have, the bylaws committee itself. We have the beautification committee, those are all named committees in our bylaws.
Is beautification named?
Beautification is named.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this, my thought is that if you were gonna put that among those named committees, then what needs to happen is a bylaws revision with a red line needs to be made, presented by the bylaws committee, 2/3 vote here, as Bonnie says, it has to go to done, which then goes through its approval procedure, and it's kind of long, so
I've talked to our attorney, I've talked to Melvin Canis on this. He says, those kind of things would be pretty much fast track. It's not a big deal. A lot of, neighborhood councils already have, this type of committee, whether it's ad hoc or government affairs.
Right, it doesn't really matter, I think we should just make it ad hoc, because otherwise if you put it in the bylaws, then they get it out, if nobody wants to do this later, you have to get it out of the
You
bylaws.
should not ever want to not do this.
It gets messy if we start putting all the committees in the bylaws, there's absolutely no reason that it wouldn't be voted on today as an ad hoc committee.
Okay, but with the idea that it would become a permanent committee.
Well, before we get into a lot of discussion on it, let's try and focus the discussion with a motion. Does somebody have a motion? All right, I'm
So
sorry.
this game comes out of
This is a
committee.
motion out of committee. This is to establish a government affairs committee. So that is the motion. Now, just for clarification, on the agenda, it says something about requiring a second. This was voted on by the bylaws committee.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, interesting. I have difficulty myself talking about a motion to amend the bylaws without actually seeing it, the red line verbiage.
Right,
So if we're talking about creating a committee, I think that does essentially by definition, take it to ad hoc at least right now.
right, I think it should be, without a committee, but we didn't say which one it was, it should be today, I think it should be ad hoc, we can always do a proposal later in the bylaws.
Well, okay, if you want to do that, but again, we already have, I presented those 3, council files last month that never got acted on.
Right, if you do it today, now they can be acted on, is what I mean, otherwise we're gonna wait, in order to amend the bylaws, we need to give everybody, the bylaws it states now, this is the red line, this is what the new paragraph will be. We don't have that here today, but we do have a motion today that would allow us to do an ad hoc committee to create the ad hoc today. You and I can put it on the bylaws later. I don't think it should be with just one thing, it's part of the other thing that can be amended too.
Okay, so is anybody speaking against the creation of the government affairs committee? Okay, do we have any public comment? Mr. Booth?
Yeah, the first thing that,
You can speak from there, Mr. Kuzma.
no, that's all right, I'm more than happy to come down here, Mr. Masker. Because there's a couple of things that I observed here. I spent the last few days reading Robert's Rules of Order and it helped give me another perspective on things here. The first thing that I'm concerned about is the really only main issue here is that the board has to name 5 people that can submit a CIS to the city system. And that's really doesn't require a committee to do. You just name the 5 people that have the passcode. And for example, planning and land use has a lot of specific files of their very own that they're going to follow up. on and should be responsible, and probably somebody on that committee should have the ability to upload the CIS to the system, because they're gonna be dealing with it a lot more than anybody else. Governmental affairs, of course, will be dealing with more citywide issues, things that might not necessarily relate to planning and land use per se. But what I was looking at here is also that the verbiage in this motion is to cap the committee at 5 people. Now, this would be the only committee here on the council that has a cap on the number of members on the committee. We have a cap on the number of board members, but that's a quorum issue. But in terms of how many people on a committee, it really should be unrestricted. There's probably a lot of really smart stakeholders out there involved with community government that might want to be on that committee. And if you limit it to 5, then you can't add them later. The other strong suggestion is that when creating a new committee, you might want to do it by using the standing rule method. A lot of things I've read say that by putting any committee into your bylaws, you're creating a situation that's difficult to change later. And I don't think it really should be an ad hoc committee, like Eric said. It should be permanent, because it's going to have permanent issues to deal with. As long as the council exists, there's going to be council files and city government issues that are going to need to be vetted and addressed and brought to the neighborhood council so that the CIS can be approved and given to city council. So really, I think it's a question that should be split here, to use one of those fancy Roberts rules of order, is to split the question, make one thing to designate the 5 people that can upload it, and then have a separate motion to create a committee without that cap of 5 people.
Point of order, this comes from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and it states, each neighborhood council can have up to 5 representatives.
He did address that.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that, but they didn't say you had to create a whole committee to do this, is what I'm saying. They just said you had to name the people, not create a committee for that purpose.
Well, because
Now,
when the issues come,
I like the idea of a governmental affairs committee. What I don't like is having it capped at 5 people, and that really the question should be split. You just need to name 5 people that can do the files, and if you want to create the committee, that's great. I'm trying to save you some time and effort by suggesting you do it by creating a standing rule. Most committees, if they're created by standing rules, are easily eliminated or put in, and you don't have to wait. And I'm sorry, but it is taking 4 to 5 months for a council to get a bylaws amendment approved. So if you had a meeting, did standing rules, boom, you're ready to go with your committee. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Good points. Mr. Bouvet?
Thank you. I think, first of all, the idea of, let's go back to the definition of ad hoc. An ad hoc committee is